Hey guys, welcome back to Hillside Forge. On today's episode, we're going to be making a throwing knife. Now, I'm going to use mild steel to make my throwing knife. I know most people say you want a high carbon knife, but it doesn't need to hold an edge. It's a throwing knife. All it needs is a strong point. And mild steel can do that. Plus, it's affordable for a beginner maker to get into. You can get mild steel from your local hardware store. This piece is 1/4 inch by 1.5 inches. And all we're going to do with this is go ahead and cut it to the length we need, and then we can practice all the blacksmithing or bladesmithing techniques we need to on it, such as forging in the tip, forging in the handle. We could do beveling, but I'm probably going to shy away from that. So without any further ado, let's get at it. Okay, so this is what we're dealing with. We're not going to need this whole piece. This is a piece from a previous project, so that's why this end's kind of tapered. So we're going to go ahead and cut from the untouched steel up here at the top. So I'm thinking I want about, in the end, maybe a 4-inch blade and like a 4-inch handle. So we're gonna go with 3 up here, our tip mark, and then make a mark at either side of the bar after 3 inches, and you'll see why in a minute. But just like before in our other projects, we're gonna round these corners, and then we're gonna make a notch here with the flap disc, and then we're gonna measure 3 inches back from here. And that's where we're going to cut it off at. So this will be our handle, this will be our blade, and this is going to be where we put those isolation points with the angle grinder. Now you can do those on the anvil, and that's totally fine if you want to. Just for me, I find it easier to use the flap disc, so that's what I'm going to do. Alright, so this is what we have. We have our isolation marks, and then we have our corners rounded here at the tip, just so we don't have any fish lips or cold shuts as we're forging that tip in. So let's go ahead and get the forge shot. Alright, so what I'm doing here is I'm striking on those rounded corners, and I want to try and drive them into a point. This is going to be a process that takes a couple heats, so we're just going to keep going at it. So as I'm driving those corners in, I'm making sure that I work both sides evenly, as well as the mushrooming begins to happen, I lay it flat to try and hammer that back out so the blade maintains a uniform thickness. Now that I have the point worked in, I begin to work my way all the way back to those isolation points, so it's a nice smooth taper from the isolation point to the tip. Here I begin to forge the point center. Now it's very important when you're doing this to work both sides so that way you don't get a curve like you see start to happen here. Next we're going to spin it all the way around and lay our isolation point on the corner of the anvil. By driving down from the top onto those isolation points, we begin to isolate the handle even more from where the blade will be. We repeat this process over and over again until we have the appropriate depth we want at the clench point or finger grip, and then we work all the way back to the end of the tang. Now I'm going to switch to my small anvil. Now this has a pristine flat surface, and I can use that to really true up the sides of my handle and make sure they're nice and flat and flush like I need them to be. Now I'm going to go ahead and flatten out the very end of the tang, just making it a little bit wider so it's a little bit more comfortable in the hand when you go to throw it. Normally you would never want to work carbon steel this cold, but since it's mild steel and there's basically almost no carbon in it, we can work it at a lot colder temperatures. So that's why I usually keep this one out of the fire just a little bit longer, especially for the final straightening and taps and stuff like that. Now let's go ahead and put our maker's mark in there. Since this is mild steel, we're going to go right ahead and do the water quench. Okay, so here's where we are after the quench. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and clean up these shoulders on the grinder, just so that's a nice flow, because usually when you're throwing, your finger's going to be back there, so you want that to be nice and rounded out. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grind on the flat platen like this and really clean up this line. It's not like it's too wobbly right now, but I just want it nice and straight for the axe-like bevel I'm going to put on there. We're going to bring it all down to a point here, but we're going to leave this pretty thick. That way it sticks nice but doesn't bend when we put it in the wood. So let's get grinding. Okay, so after grinding, this is where we're at. Like I said, it's a really thick edge. There's really not even an edge on here. It does taper down. It looks like there's an edge, but really there's not. So the reason I don't put an edge on mine is because sometimes when you throw them from back here. So why on earth would you want to cut your own hand open? That's my logic. I mean, if you want to cut your hand open, hey, dude, that's on you, but 10 out of 10, do not recommend. So now we're going to go clean it up on the wire wheel, and we'll get to throw it. All right, after 20 some throws, this is the tip. Hasn't bent, hasn't rolled. That's why we do such thick grinds on mild steel throwing knives, because they won't bend over as long as you make them the right thickness. Super fun to throw, nice balanced weight. All in all, fun little project. All right, guys, that's how you make a throwing knife. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something along the way. We got to practice a lot of cool bladesmithing techniques, as forging in the point, some grinding, and then forging the tang, as well as just, you know, having a good time doing it. And that's what's important about this. You know, you got to enjoy yourself. That's why I like doing these one-day builds, because not everybody has 12 hours a week to devote to a project. So if you have 2 hours, 3 hours, this is the project for you. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like, comment, subscribe. I'd appreciate the support, and I look forward to seeing you guys soon. Have a great day, guys.